Terminator class. Since Terminators are really popular, I would love to see a class that wears this armor. We have Tacticus, Phobos, and Gravis armor already in the game, so the only one that's missing is, of course, Terminator armor. Alright, now, before I finish this post, we talked about Terminators in the past, and for whatever reason, there has been a resurgence into this conversation, and it seems to get a little bit out of control here, at least in the past day. There's been multiple posts about Terminators. Let's finish this post, and then I will show you what I'm talking about. With this class, you would have access to iconic weapons such as the Stormbolter. Dude, okay, I would love to talk about the Stormbolter in a separate conversation, but TLDR, Stormbolter, I want it in the game so bad. It's so cool. I love this weapon. For tabletop, this is a weapon that stands out for me personally because I do have Terminators, and I would love to see this, but I'm pretty sure they're too big, apparently, but they might be able to fix that. But yeah, Stormbolter's on the list of weapons I want to see the most. Chain Fists, Autocannon, and Heavy Power Sword. The special ability will be a rocket salvo, similar to what the Scarab Occult Terminators use. Okay, man, this rocket salvo, we all probably understand that this weapon, or sorry, this skill, it would either be way too strong or heavily nerfed just so they can use it. You know what I mean? Terminators, in my opinion, are definitely a little bit overpowered for the game. Perhaps. I mean, we did just take out a Vortex Beast, right? Doesn't that kind of like mess up a lot of the scaling in the game? Regardless, I think Terminators, like lore-based, or at the very least, functional, unique, and accurate Terminators could potentially be walking tanks for better or for worse, effectively not being able to get taken down by like majors or anything, maybe even needing multiple extremists to actually dent, but they would be walking. They would be very slow. But yeah, this post specifically kind of started a whole chain of events of people talking about Terminators. My arguments for the possibility of a Terminator class. So, yep, this was a post made shortly after the other Terminator post. I want to start off by saying I don't believe Space Marine Terminators are coming to SM2 as of yet. As much as I would want them, Focus has not said anything that points to them arriving, and I'm fine with that. This is purely speculative and an argument on how they could be added if they are. Okay, we got an argument here. Terminators are too slow. This is a primary argument against Terminators, and a fair one. Terminators are slower than a normal Marine. That fact is true in lore. However, a Phobos Marine is also faster than a Gravis Marine, yet both can keep pace. So yeah, they just adjust the speed to be correct, I guess. I mean, yeah, basically, class's running speed is closer to a jog than a sprint, something Terminators are capable of. A jog? I mean, fair. I think they would look a little goofy, at least how I would view them, but that's just me personally. However, oh yeah, Terminators can't dodge. This is also a fair argument. No, actually, as far as they can't dodge, I like this aspect of it. I think that makes sense if they were super tanky. I just think if they're so tanky that they couldn't dodge, it just effectively makes Heavy kind of look bad in a sense. This is also a fair argument, as in Terminator falls over there. They more often need help to stand again, so performing the usual dodge roll is out of the question. But okay, they can't dodge roll. I just don't want to see them jog either, though, to be completely honest. That being said, dodging is still possible in the form of quick side, back, or front steps. You know what? Actually, a fair argument. These could serve the same purpose and simply just cover a shorter distance while providing the same moments of invincibility. It is possible. I would just want them to have like a skill for invincibility, to be honest. It is possible you could give them smaller windows of invincibility, so dodging takes better timing, put more focus on the Terminators, roll as a tank. Okay, there's not really any punctuation here, so that's why I'm stumbling a lot. The lore just wouldn't fit gameplay. This is underpinning argument. I've seen people look at Terminators in lore and believe they simply can't fit in Space Marine 2's gameplay as a fast hack and slash FPS. Now, I mean, to be honest, if they were to ever do this, they would need a separate mode. But yeah, we've kind of talked about this before. Trust me, this is all leading into something, but they do make some good points here. The issue with this is Space Marine 2 does strive for lore accuracy and is focused more on gameplay. With just 3 Marines every mission we play would be impossible lore-wise, even if they were highly skilled veterans. Yeah, I think the only, to be honest, the only thing that I think stretches this argument is just the fact that, yeah, we did take out a vortex beast. I think that's that's kind of a huge feat that I think is pretty dope, to be honest. But at the same time, I understand where this stretches lore. Yes, Space Marines are strong, but a Chaos Sorcerer could outpower us. Yeah, we have mini sorcerers, right? They're lesser sorcerers. Even a wounded Hive Tyrant could still crush us. Yeah, I mean, this is going down a different route. We've talked about this before. I think, honestly, we're not just 3 regular Space Marines, you know what I mean? We're a very, very good squad. Again, these are just my counter arguments. I think this was a fair point, but okay. Here's the thing. Yeah, definitely at the end. Please keep your thoughts civil no matter what side you're on, as otherwise neither side is worth hearing. So this is a fair, very fair point at the end here, where this is all speculative. They even mentioned that they don't think Space Marine 2 is going to add Terminators. I think they made a pretty good argument here. However, this kind of was like this post specifically, I think, was like the straw that broke the camel's back, essentially, or however you put it. Shut up about Terminators. We will never get Terminators as a standalone class. They would be overpowered or disappointing. Yeah, I agree on the balance sense of that. It is literally a lose-lose situation for Saber to put them in the game. I think we could have a separate mode, but I kind of agree. I don't think we're getting Terminators. This was the point that I made the last time we talked about this, but to be fair, it has been like a year since then. If you want Terminators, download mods. Very, very good point. Please, for the love of him, the Golden Throne, the Omnisaya, Holy Terra, the Primarch Reborn, and Ultramar, shut up. Okay. Now, yeah, clearly we are getting a bit more aggressive with some of the counter posting here about Terminators. I do think this is kind of funny, but yeah, at the same time, I understand where they're getting at, but still there are some good points about Terminators. But if I was to rank 2 things that I think might not get into the game, but I'd hope they would, and what the possibility of that could be, I would say Terminators compared to Claws. I think we're going to get Lightning Claws first. And to be honest, I don't equate Stormbolters and Terminators together. However, I probably should, but I still want to see Stormbolters so bad, dude. Okay, fine, we can stop talking about Terminators, but can we start talking about Stormbolters? Terminators would suck in Space Marine 2, and this image kind of cracks me up here. But okay, yeah, since someone posted why they would totally love Terminators to be added in Space Marine 2, well, okay, I don't know what about criticism. I think as far as the posts we covered, I don't know if this was the exact post, but regardless, we've seen the points, we understand, and not to mention the stuff we were talking about is repeated in this post. So okay, let's get into it. Terminators are cool, but by the Emperor, they'd suck in Space Marine 2. They just don't fit at all. Sure, you get a Power Fist and a Stormbolter, yes, maybe a Heavy Flamer or Assault Cannon. In return, you are slow. Terminators can't run. Heck, they need a crane to lift them up if they fall. Oh, okay, so that's... yeah, nah, I don't want to see that person jog. I do not want to see that person jog. Sure, they could teleport. Oh, that's right. No, that's actually a fair point about teleporting. That was the other possibility for the class, right? To just teleport. I do think that would be interesting. However, I would be very upset as an assault player if I seen the heavy just be able to teleport into like mobs with iframes and just, you know, melt everything, stomp. It would be kind of interesting, and then also put up a shield. No dodging. The dodge deals damage. Stratagem is already tough. Now imagine you can't dodge at all. The moment a Tyranid with Devourer or Emperor Beware, a Venom Cannon spawns, So I think obviously they would just have it wouldn't be teleporting. It would be like invincibility, right? Dude, I don't even want to speculate, to be honest, because it gets me too hyped, but Terminators was like the first thing that I kind of was like, I don't think they're going to add this, man. As much as I want them to add this, and as much as I think they could, I just think it's not within the scope of the game, at least at the moment. Unless there's a separate mode or a DLC, Terminator DLC. That, I don't know. I just still think that's also a Space Marine 3 thing. Watch this one. Tyranid Sniper, double tap you. Oh, that's true. Yeah, you could just get double tapped by the sniper. No, that's fair. I mean, still, though, you would just have invincibility, I guess. But that would definitely, in my opinion, as far as what we see with the damage numbers, I'm not too sure how tanky you would need to be to take a double Tyranid sniper, especially if they're enraged. I think even great responsibility like one-shots you, right? Pretty sure. You'll barely kill anything. For all your firepower, all that DACA, you are slow, your brothers are not. By the time you reach the enemy, the non-Terminator classes have cleared them out. That's interesting. It would be more interesting in this sense if you were able to like summon a Terminator, you know what I mean? But we kind of already have that in Siege mode. I wonder, okay, I'm definitely curious. Terminators versus Dreadnoughts. Obviously, Dreadnoughts are stronger than Terminators, right? So I guess the devs just were like, why would we have a middle ground between the classes that you could summon and then also a Dreadnought, where it's more like a normal hard situation rather than like an easy normal hard, I guess. I don't know. The devs really love normal and hard, so I'm not surprised they just like, oh no, well, we also have Guardsmen. So yeah, it is an easy normal hard situation. Maybe Terminators is just too much. Too many things to add. The only ways Terminators could potentially work, pick up. Oh yeah, exactly. Hell Brute. This is insanely unlikely. A pickup similar to PvE Hellbrute. Like, yeah, you find an objective. I mean, that's kind of interesting. I mean, I don't know. That's I don't know. Like, I think he said PvE Hellbrute, but in my mind, I'm picturing the PvP Hellbrute, where you could just, like, go over an objective and, like, spawn in a Terminator. A mode completely tailored to them, yes. There's just no other way of playing around their issues. Keep Terminators out of Space Marine 2. If they come to Space Marine 3, make a mode just for them or better. Give us Space Hulk Deathwing 2. Okay. So all right. So I agree. To be honest, though, I think this counter post actually had, like, the points are like fair and they're right, but I think the arguments for Terminators are so thought out because so many people have talked about this and wanted them, that to actually like counter post on Terminators is pretty interesting, because it's like, we all know it's not possible. We're probably not getting Terminators unless it's a separate mode, and we all know there's pacing issues within the game that stops this from happening 100%. But it is pretty interesting how much stronger, for whatever reason, speculating on Terminators are, to be honest. It doesn't fit into the lore because Terminators are first company deployments, and this game revolves around Titus and the second company Ultramarines. The devs will break some lore rules, sure, but not that one. It's been a core piece of lore for Loyalist chapters since the beginning. Yeah, there it is. That's that is the dagger, right, to the Terminator conversation. I think this is fair, 100%. I definitely see a lot of comments that it's pretty funny. Some people are all in agreement that seeing Terminators in this game is probably out of the question. I would go as far as to say 100% out of the question, but still. Regardless, it's still pretty funny how many people are like, man, these arguments are so good, but like, we still know that we're not going to see Terminators. And I feel like this is the one that is irrefutable, right? This is the comment that really breaks the Terminator conversation. But to be fair, it's still a fun conversation. I still think it's very cool to see people speculate and actually come up with ideas for mechanics. But yeah, I do think everything Terminators would need to function would either be too overpowered or they wouldn't be functional enough, to be honest. They lack any sort of mobility, especially compared to standard Space Marines, and mobility is a huge part of the game. The dodge mechanic won't work because Terminators can't, sprinting won't work because Terminators mostly can't, and the instances where they can, Logan Grimnar in the Months of Shame and Gabriel Angulos in Dawn of War 3 are notable. So we're left with a class with neutered mobility. Speaking of Dawn of War, I definitely need to get into that. And it would need entirely new and specific weapons. If the class is built how it's supposed to be, then it will either make the other two players useless, or it will be an active detriment to your team. Try again, it dies. It can't dodge during the early desert portion. Dude, oh no. Oh man. Just what? Dude, I can't get the image of Straybon looking at the Terminator just dying to sniper shots at the beginning for whatever reason. just taking all of the chip damage. Straybon with a shield just looking at the Terminator just die at the beginning of the mission. Dude, holy cow. They need to do that. For whatever reason, this cracks me up. If for whatever reason a Terminator where it's like, oh wow, it's super powerful, it's definitely not gonna die, just dies to like some of the most inconsequential like combat things. Like honestly, going through the desert is such a non-issue for veterans. It is funny thinking about a Terminator going down directly at the beginning of the mission. But okay, during the early desert portion, very interesting. During the boss fight itself, if it somehow lives that long, or during the boss fight, yeah, I mean, depending on what they can parry with, or if they can parry at all, right? You know, the Trigon can be pretty aggressive. Hive Tyrant, it can't dodge the 3 waves. I mean, that's not too bad. I mean, if it's dying to the desert portion, the 3 waves is, you know, that's pretty difficult, I guess. Neurothrope, same issue. The Neurothrope's the Neurothrope is the interesting matchup in my opinion. I do think Stormbolters would shred the Neurothrope, but it's pretty interesting because obviously AoE attacks and stuff like that. So yeah, the Neurothrope can simply just attack behind a wall as well. Carnifex, it can't dodge any of the Carnifex's charge attacks. Dude, now I just want to see these fights, to be honest. So the only choice is it either has the ability to practically insta-kill those Terminus enemies or it dies. I mean, yeah, I guess. Dude, now that we're talking about it, even though we know it's not possible, this sounds like a summon. Doesn't it? Like, it feels like a summon for a specific situation. Maybe, hey, you know what? Outside of modes, the only other way the devs could add Terminators into this game is if we, like, summon them in a mission, but we wouldn't be able to play them. You know what I mean? So they would effectively be non-player characters at that point. That is interesting. However, this is definitely the wall of the Terminator conversation. I definitely wanted to jump into this one because there was a lot of friction, it seems, on this, and normally that makes it for a good discussion. And yeah, it's still pretty funny how you can make a good argument for something that is definitely not going to happen. But the more we talk about it, I think people are coming up with new ideas, and not to mention some new imagery that's also fun to read. the Carnifex and a Terminator just, like, you know, wrestling, very interesting. Or the Terminator being so useless in a mission, it just dies at the, like, very beginning. And not to mention, it would make Straybon look cooler, right? So, I don't know. But that's pretty much all that has to be said about the Terminator conversation. This was a fun one for sure. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. And thanks for watching.